course, tenants groups and campaigners say that they need really 3 layers of foundation to give everyone the secure, stable home that they need. The first one of those is decent structural condition, maintenance and repairs. The second is to not be evicted unfairly. And as other speakers, as other questioners have said, this white paper makes considerable progress on both of those areas. But the third key part of the foundation renters groups say is to actually have a home that you can afford. Now, the local Lord the Minister said the government was looking at rent controls and pointed back to the kind of rent controls that we had in the 1970s. But is the government prepared to consider different, more flexible, smarter forms of rent control? In Scotland, the Green Tenants' Rights Minister is looking at ways in which rent controls can deliver what people actually need, which is rental costs that are not more than 25% of their income. And another way of looking at this might be that if powers for rent control will be given to mayors, like the Mayor of London, the other regional mayors, city mayors that we have around the country, that would be a way of experimenting and working. But how can the government ensure that people can actually afford to rent, which is an essential foundation?
I'm sure the government's happy to look at ideas that are, and I think we've had ideas from Wales, Scotland, Ireland, that I'm sure the policy officials can look at and advise ministers on. I mean, I think we've got to recognise that that there are often unintended consequences on supply if you tinker too much in the private rented market around and try and control rent levels. And we've heard some of that actually from the Noble Baroness Lady Thornhill. That you might find it more lucrative to use Airbnb than to have longer-term rents. And so I think what you're really saying is that to tackle the affordability crisis is that we do need a fair amount of taxpayer-subsidised housing, whether that's rent, so affordable rent, but also social rent. And we recognise that as a government. Not every person can own their own home. Not every person can afford market rents, and that's why we need to have a steady supply of affordable housing that's available around the country, and that we have communities that are mixed. Of mixed tenure and allow communities of people with households with different incomes to live cheek by jowl. And that's really, I think, good social policy and something that the government certainly supports.